You think you know Roman entertainment, gladiators, chariot races, theater with masks and poetry. But there's a side of Rome that textbooks quietly skip, a side that wasn't about combat or sport. It was about women. Not female gladiators who chose the arena for fame and money. Women who had no choice. Women whose deaths were scheduled like matinee performances. Women whose suffering was printed on wall advertisements and sold as premium seating. Picture this. You're in a stone arena with 50,000 people. You brought your family. You packed food. This is a day out. And then a young woman, 22 years old, who gave birth just days ago, her body still carrying the evidence of new motherhood, is dragged onto the sand. The crowd around you erupts, because the show is about to begin. That's not a dark fantasy. That's recorded Roman history. If you think that's the worst of it, you haven't heard anything yet. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover the history that gets left out of the classroom. You'll want to be here for what comes next. The arena wasn't just a building. It was a system. The Colosseum seated 50,000 people. The acoustics were engineered so a scream from the arena floor could be heard in the highest tier. That was a design choice. Rome wanted everyone to hear. The smell hit you first. Blood, sand, animal waste, baking in Mediterranean heat. Then the noise. Vendors selling food. Conversations bouncing off stone. This wasn't a solemn occasion. This was a carnival. Then the announcements. Today's schedule. Morning, executions of the condemned. Afternoon, beast fights. Evening, gladiator combat. Executions came first. Before the skilled fighters, before the expensive animals, the executions were the warm-up act, the appetizer, the thing that got the crowd loose before the main event, and women were part of that schedule. Not occasionally, regularly. You could walk past a city wall and see it posted like a merchant's sale. 20 condemned women to the beast's noon. But here's where it stops being cruelty and starts being something far worse, systematic horror. Because Rome didn't just execute women, they made theater out of it. They wrote scripts, they built sets, they cast women in mythological roles where the ending was always death, but death dressed up as culture, when art became an execution. Methodiou may have studied the myth of Dies in school, tied to a bull, dragged to her death, a beautiful, tragic story, safe on a scroll or a painted vase. Now imagine that myth performed live, a real woman, a real bull, her hair bound to the animal's horns as it's driven into a frenzy. The crowd watching every moment, deciding whether the suffering looks real enough. This wasn't speculation. Multiple historians documented it. The Roman poet Martial wrote about these staged mythological executions like a theater critic reviewing a play. He praised the realism. He noted how the actress really suffered. He didn't use the word actress with irony. This was theater to him. The woman was playing a role. The role just happened to end with her actual death. Think about the level of cultural sickness required to watch a woman die slowly, and evaluate it as performance art. And Dies was just one. Myth. The economics don't lie either. Front row seats near the arena floor were the most expensive. From there you could see every detail, hear every sound. Wealthy Romans competed for those seats and brought guests to impress. This wasn't shameful, it was status. Drop your city and country in the comments right now. Once you see how organized and profitable this system was, you'll never look at ancient Rome the same way again. I'll be reading through comments as this video goes out. Perpetua and Felicity, Carthage, 203 AD. Most victims of Roman arena executions are nameless line items in ledgers. But these two women were documented, not by Rome celebrating the spectacle, by Christians who refused to let the story be forgotten. Her name was Perpetua. 22 years old, educated, from a wealthy family, married, nursing a newborn. When Roman soldiers arrested her for being Christian, a crime in the Roman Empire, she had every advantage that should have protected her. It didn't. Her father visited her in prison, an old man who watched her grow up, who had held her baby. He begged, he wept, he threw himself at her feet. Just say the words, just deny it. Come home to your son. She refused. She told him her baby would be fine. She told him she would be fine. She told him God was with her. Her father left weeping. The guards mocked him on his way out. Her name was Felicity, younger than Perpetua, a slave, 8 months pregnant when she was arrested. Roman law technically protected pregnant women from execution. They had to give birth first, which sounds like mercy until you understand what it actually meant. watching your friends die while you waited alone in chains. Felicity prayed for early labor. A woman in prison prayed to give birth prematurely so she could be executed with her friends, because staying alive alone felt worse than dying together. Her prayers were answered. She went into labor at 8 months. She screamed in pain. Guards laughed. "If you're screaming now, what are you going to do in the arena?" Her answer silenced them. "Right now I suffer alone. In the arena, God will be suffering with me." She gave birth to a daughter, held her for maybe an hour. A Christian woman outside the prison took the baby. Felicity never saw her daughter again. 2 days later, 2 days after giving birth, Rome declared her ready for the arena. The morning of the execution, the night before, Roman tradition offered the condemned a last meal, but Rome made it public. People paid to attend. They threw insults. They called out requests for tomorrow's show. The Christian prisoners responded by singing hymns that enraged the crowd more than fear would have. How dare they not be terrified? Morning came. They were led through underground tunnels toward the sound of 50,000 people waiting. Officials tried to dress them in robes for priests of Saturn, making their execution part of a religious ceremony. Perpetua refused. "We came here freely. We won't wear your costumes." The guard in charge, nervous about her noble status, let them wear plain tunics instead. Then they walked into the sunlight. The arena floor was sand over stone. Blood from the morning's earlier executions was already soaking in. They released a wild cow, starved, agitated, prodded with spears until it was enraged. Then it was sent into the arena where 2 young mothers stood holding each other's hands. The cow charged. Perpetua was struck first, thrown to the ground, her tunic tearing as she landed. Her first instinct, even then, was to pull her clothing back into place. Dignity. Even here, Felicity was trampled, gored her body. 3 days out of childbirth, couldn't absorb it. She collapsed. Perpetua crawled to her, pulled her up. 2 bleeding women helping each other stand while the crowd screamed for more. The crowd's reaction split. Some demanded brutality, but some, and this is documented, some went quiet. Even Romans who watched this regularly found something about 2 young mothers clinging to each other that crossed a line they didn't know they had. Officials stopped the animal attack, not to spare them, to move to the next phase, the sword. The gladiator assigned to Perpetua was new, barely trained. His first execution, he raised the sword and missed. The blade struck her shoulder. She screamed, not from fear, from frustration that this boy couldn't even end it properly. And then she did something that echoes across 2,000 years. She reached up, grabbed the sword, and guided it toward herself. She helped her executioner finish it, because she was done with the pain, done with the spectacle, done with Rome having control over even the moment of her death. The second strike killed her. Felicity died next. The bodies were left in the sand until the next event began. Then slaves dragged them away and spread fresh sand for the afternoon matches. If this story is hitting different than what you expected, drop a comment. Tell me what you knew about Rome before this video and what just changed. Seriously, I read every single one. Lion, 177 AD. Her name was Blandina, a slave girl, small, physically weak by all accounts, the kind of person you'd expect to collapse under interrogation. She didn't. They tortured her. For information about other Christians, for hours, the documents describe the injuries sustained as beyond what a human body should survive while remaining conscious. Through all of it, she kept repeating the same words. "I am a Christian. We do nothing wrong." Her torturers, professional torturers, gave up before she did. They were exhausted. She was still conscious, still refusing. Then they brought her to the arena. Not once, multiple times. Over multiple days, each day a different method. Each day she survived longer than anyone expected. Day 1, tied to a post as bait for wild animals. She hung there for hours. The beasts circled, but didn't attack. The crowd was furious. They'd paid for a show. They weren't getting one. Day 2, scourged, placed on a heated iron grill. She kept praying. Final day, wrapped in a net, thrown to a bull. The animal tossed her across the arena, again and again. Each impact should have ended it. Eventually, one did. But here's what's more disturbing than the torture itself. The crowd, the same crowd that paid money for each session, that brought their families to watch. This girl refused to break, started calling her the little one, with affection, with admiration. They respected her endurance while simultaneously demanding her death. They were impressed by her courage while paying to watch her suffer. The cognitive dissonance required to hold both those thoughts simultaneously tells you everything about what normalization does to a society. Thus wasn't mob violence, it was a business. Blandina, Perpetua, Felicity. These women have names because Christians preserved their stories. Most victims didn't. Most were numbers in ledgers. 40 condemned women, beasts, noon, 16 bears acquired from Germania, listed side by side, like inventory, because this was inventory management. Animals had to be captured, transported across the empire, fed, and kept healthy until show day. Specialist hunters bestiary made careers supplying arena beasts. They knew which animals killed quickly and which ones played with prey. They knew what the crowd wanted. The arena required constant maintenance. Sand had to be replaced regularly. Slaves worked overnight, cleaning, raking, repairing. The infrastructure of death ran on schedule, and the economics of the tickets. Seating was tiered by price and social class. Senators had reserved boxes. Wealthy citizens paid for premium views. Common people filled the upper sections, but everyone paid. Even the cheapest seats cost something. Execution days were cheaper than gladiator days, which made them more accessible. Family entertainment, a day out, concession stands, vendors in the aisles. You could buy a sausage, watch an execution, and discuss dinner plans, all in the same afternoon. Notices were posted around the city listing the day's events, who was being executed, what animals would appear. Someone wrote those notices. Someone copied and posted them. Someone checked tickets at the gates. Someone directed you to your seat. Someone cleaned up after. This was organized entertainment, professional management, profit margins. And when Christians were being executed, advertisements specifically noted if women were included, because that added value. Female suffering had higher entertainment worth. The